Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. In today's story, OP reaches out to Reddit for essentially advice in trying to figure out if he was in the wrong for the way that he treated his biological dad. But this update does have a twist because the father then posts on the same subreddit asking if he's the a-hole for how he handled a certain situation later on. And then OP found out about the post. Let's just say that it does get heated. I do hope that you enjoyed this post. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Anyways, on to the story. Am I the a-hole for banning my biological dad from my graduation? I, an 18-year-old male, am graduating next week. Graduates are allowed to bring 3 guests, so I'm bringing my mom, dad, and my boyfriend. My sister is also graduating and she's bringing her 2 friends from camp. My biological dad, Ted, found out about the graduation and asked me for a ticket for him and his wife. I told Ted that there were no tickets. He found out about the extra tickets and called me and begged me to come to his only kid's graduation. I refused and I said that I wouldn't find another ticket for his wife either. I told him that he was not my dad and if he tried to come to my graduation, I'd kick him out. I don't think of Ted as my dad. My dad, Jason, who's technically my stepdad, is my dad. When my mom was pregnant with me, Ted got his dream job in a different state across the country and told my mom that he had to take it. My mom couldn't come. He left us anyways and she gave birth alone. A few months later, he asked her for a divorce because he found someone else. When I was in pre-kindergarten, I met Madison and we became best friends. Her mom had left her as a baby too. Long story short, my mom fell in love with her dad and they got married when we were 7. As far as I'm concerned, they're my real family and Ted's a stranger who shares my DNA. Now Ted's family is blowing up my phone, calling me a spoiled brat and blaming my mom for paternal alienation and said that I was being disrespectful to Ted. His wife called and I told her to F off too. So am I the a-hole? Now, I don't know if the dad found out about the son's post or not, but he also posted on Reddit. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife and her husband to stop being inappropriate at our son's graduation party? I, a 48-year-old male, do not have a great relationship with my ex-wife, who's a 42-year-old female, though I do my best to keep it courteous for our son's sake, who's an 18-year-old male. They've done everything to alienate me from my own child, and have succeeded with their wealth and connections to the point where I had no recourse in the courts. My son would say several hurtful things that his mother clearly coached him to say on the rare occasions that I got to speak with him. He had a belated graduation party with his stepsister, who's also 18, this past weekend. And when I arrived, my ex-wife and her husband, who's a 37-year-old male, tried to make me feel unwelcome, though several members of my sides of the family were there. I wasn't allowed near my son at all, not even for a single photo, and did not get to speak with him. It seemed her entire family coordinated an effort to keep me away from my son the entire time. At this party, my ex-wife was wearing a very inappropriate dress. Her entire bare back was exposed. I noticed that her husband was often caressing her lower back quite intimately. I felt disgusted that they were doing this at my son's graduation party. He even kissed her several times as well throughout the night. When I was finally fed up, I walked over to them and firmly told them to stop with the PDA. It was our son's special moment and their behavior was attention-seeking and disrespectful. My ex-wife threatened to kick me out. I told her it was not her place and her husband said, "I'm his father, not you," and stood up as if to start a physical altercation. My son saw what was happening and came over. He told me to leave to keep the peace. I left without any fuss. Now, my sister, who's my son's aunt, said that I completely embarrassed her and our other family members at the party. My family split. My mother, however, is on my side. So, am I the a-hole? I figured out that my biological dad posted on Am I the a-hole, and now I know how he sees me and the world. And it's exactly as moronic, self-pitying, and narcissistic as I expected him to be. If it wasn't my actual bio dad Ted, I'd have thought it was a troll. Ted literally thinks my mom and my dad conspired to keep me away from him for 18 years. Ever wonder why I don't want to be around you? Maybe it's because I don't want to be near an a-hole who abandoned his pregnant wife for a horrible dream job living on minimum wage in a cabin for 3 years. Maybe it's because you left my mom for another woman while she was raising me as a single mom and you were out living your dream. Maybe it's because you called once a month, if that. Maybe it's because you haven't paid a single cent of child support. Or maybe it's because my dad stepped up to raise me. I know you effing hate my dad, Ted. He's a better man than you are, and my mom and I are so lucky to have him. He is my real dad. It's not just because he adopted me after you signed your rights away. It's because he was the dad I needed when mom and him weren't dating. I want you to know that I wanted him to be my dad since I was 4 years old. Or maybe it's because mom and I have the picture-perfect family that you wanted with your wife that you hate because she's unable to have kids and isn't 21 anymore. A mom and dad, a son, and a daughter, happily living together as a family. You had me and mom and you left us for a higher calling and are mad that we didn't come crawling to you. You were never a part of my family, Ted. My accomplishments aren't yours to claim. You did nothing to earn this graduation. We graduated at the top 5% of our class because mom tutored us. We got into good colleges because dad took us to our clubs and games and meetings and tournaments and everything you called frou-frou nonsense. He was our mentor for robotics. Did you know that? No, because you don't care what I like. It's us, by the way, because I have a sister that you try to ignore. Because it was okay for you, a 30-year-old man, to abandon his wife and child, but it's unacceptable that a teenage boy stepped up to raise his daughter as a single dad. I don't know how you think the way you do. I don't want to know. I'm not your son. So guys, what did you think about the post? In the comments, OP's dad mentioned that he wasn't even invited to the graduation party. He just saw something posted about it and then just randomly decided to show up. I don't know. If you think about it from that perspective, OP's dad's actions and responses were even worse. I do wish the best for OP and his family. I'm so glad that he now has a father who looks after him and loves him with the love that they deserve. I do hope that you enjoyed this story. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.